and we have a thrill of possibilities. Oh, so it looks like he is on Drake's action. Okay, he's on Drake's, so we're not going to see the elementals deck. We have Healy, Sublime Artificer as the first play on the table. A very imposing card versus a lot of decks, but the Gates deck doesn't really have that much of an issue with it, since the tokens are really bad blockers in the matchup, with Ram just trampling over and the Colossus not even being able to block by a 1-1. So Dimir Sultan control was my plan to be playing today, says Bob. I really like it. I've been testing a Sultai shell with a food theme, but I think I'm still trying to make it food too much because I really want it to work. Okay, we have a Murmuring Mystic with no aggression from Sander's side yet. We do see card advantage engines and a Drake and a Ram. I think I see the Gates ablaze there as well. So Sanders definitely has tools available. But of course, next turn, Robbe will untap and have probably counter mana up to interact. So Sander getting a window here, and will get to choose whether he prefers a Narset, which I think is a suboptimal choice, a Ram, or a... Oh, he had the Oko as well. So, gets Oko, sure. Nothing broken about that card. Where is Oko? Oko, Thief of Crowns, uh, the card that has crushed Standard right now. Nothing broken here. Welcome, Summer. Yeah, with very little pressure from the side of Robbe. A Planeswalker like Oko is pretty safe. I thought he only had a Narset to play. Narset only being able to go down in loyalty. Oof, second Murmuring Mystic. And pokes Oko with the original one. Yeah, the card viewer for Ravnica cards, for some reason, is a bit broken. They made it so that uh, those are smaller in resolution, the older cards, uh, but other sites don't seem to be working. Food gets alkified. Sahili is being attacked, signaling he has burn to follow up here, and we get the Narset. A lot more. Oh, Narset. There we go. A lot safer a play here because Robbe can only swing for 2 at it. Also notice that the Narset wasn't minused, so Sander is more interested in limiting cards for Robbe to draw than he is actually drawing cards himself, knowing that the Drake deck has a sub-theme of uh, draw second card often. But I still think Robbe is playing with a list that Sander made. So, Scorching Dragonfire gets rid of that Narset and exiles it. Also makes 2 servos and 2 birds. And suddenly Robbe is on the table. Also notice that Sander is stuck on 3 lands here, and um, even if he does play that Gates Blaze in his hand, it's only going to get rid of the tokens, but leave the token creators on the battlefield. Also that Foodie Elk is a lot less scary at this point. Guild Summit, and he has the extra land in hand to get started with the card drawing. Oko building a board, make some more food. The token does not come in for an attack. Thrill of Possibilities, discarding a second Narset, gets another bunch of tokens together. So that's 8, yeah, 8 1-power creatures on the board at this point. The food elk that didn't attack made so, ooh, and an unsummon to get rid of it. So no more blockers, more tokens. I think he forgot to make the extra tokens there. Oko gets taken out, and we get Murmuring Mystic number 4. Number 3. Whew. Seems like it's a bit earlier than I felt. Growth Spiral. For Sander. Finds an extra land and finds a ram. But Sander currently on 4 gates. So he's trying to get that ram, get to the point where he will get to Gates Blaze and take care of the Mystics as well. Unsummon number 2 bounces that. So we have 7, 10, 13 power on board right now. And Sander will have to have that. Sander will have to Gates Blaze next turn, no matter what happens. So if he, it'd be huge if he has another gate. I haven't been able to see if he has one in his hand. He top decked one though, so that's the 5th one. Gets to Gates Ablaze, wipe the entire board. We keep the Sahili, so Robbe might be able to rebuild here. At the end of Sander's turn. No, has nothing. Ooh, would have wished to have that Scorching Dragon Fire last turn to take out the ram as well. And now Sander has dug himself out of the pit he was in and is deftly taking over the game, showcasing the extreme power that this deck is capable of. And that is an Ugin. So Sander drawing 2 of his rares, mythics, on top of the none on Robbe's side. So we get a servo token and the opt. That's a thrill of possibility, so Robbe can keep on digging, keep making more servo tokens, I haven't been given the deck lists though, so not sure what he can dig into. Guessing a flurry of shocks is a possibility. We see one of those hanging out in his hand here. Chooses to shock Dragonfire the Ugin. Uh, I think he needs 2 extra servos from that. Yeah, technically those were forgotten. Sander still giving them to him, not too worried about it. So that's a 2-2 from Ugin attacking together with a Gatebreaker Ram. And we have a Liliana. Wat? Nee. Mag ik, Anouk, mag ik ook de deck lezen? Okay, and Sander wraps up the first game. Did get 3 of his very broken planeswalkers on top of being the one who plays Gates. So I'm curious to see what Robbe will bring out of his side here. Seems he has a lot of options already. Now here we saw Sander dig himself out of a mana screwed position and still quite handily taking over the game. Let's have. Yeah. So for Sander, we have out of the board Negates, Return to Nature, Spark Harvest, Healer of the Glade, Duress, Disdainful Stroke, Undercity's Embrace, and Soul Salvage. Um, how many players? We have 13 players here today, so it's smaller than a Braden event. We've also decided to uh, pull down the prize payout. So rather than going having 3-2 for prizes, it's now 2-1. So we'll have a bunch of people getting some extra prizes, and we'll take some from the top end. And let's look at Robbe's deck. He's very much a spells deck, not a draw second card, even though there are 3 improbable alliances there. That's the payoff cards we have is Crackling Drake, Firemind's Research, Improbable Alliance, and Murmuring Mystic and Sahili. So a lot of payoff cards for um, what the deck wants to do. Main deck and summons, as we saw. He has Cosmotronic Waves, Disdainful Stroke, Cosmina's Transmutation, Maximize Velocity, Negate, and No Escape on site. No Escape, a very important tool against gates, especially when you're on the plane. Uh, Same with Disdainful Stroke. The fact that the Ram gets under it, Disdainful Stroke only really hits the Planeswalkers and the Gate Colossus in this deck, which is crazy if you think about the kind of impact cards this deck is playing, that it practically caps off at 3 mana. So it's very hard to find a good sideboard against Drakes at this point. In the meantime, let's have a look at Sander's version of Gates. He's on the Narset version, so he's playing 3 Narset Partro Veils, which is really important, especially in this matchup here. But that cost him a little bit, so he has he still has 4 Gatebreaker Rams, but has cut to 3 Guild Summits, 3 Gates Ablaze, and just 2 Gate Colossus. Other than that, we've seen the Oko, the Liliana, and the Ugin. He also has a Chandra, Awakened Inferno there. And that's about it. I don't really see anything surprising or crazy in Robbe's deck, besides the fact that he's going back to the old favorite in um, Murmuring Mystics. Uh, Colossi, Colossi, Colossus is way cuter. Come on, give me a break. Um, also, hey, it's good to see everybody. 7 viewers, according to my bot viewer at this point. How do I see? Wait, how do I see the peep? Where's the peeps? Users in chat. Let's see. We have Boxy, Gankero, Marco, MTG, Maidokita, Summer, TDW, and Windsock are currently handing out. For those of you that know what we're seeing, enjoy. For those of you that don't, you are looking at a competitive Gentry event. Gentry being a budget version of Standard that limits the amount of uncommons and rares mythics you get to use to 15 uncommons per deck and 4 unique, so only one of each allowed, rares or mythic in your deck. It's a very fun uh, version of Magic that is mostly played in Belgium, but there's some small play communities in Sweden. Shout out to Malmö, and I believe Izmir it is in Turkey. And I've heard there's a small group in Scotland that also still plays. Welcome at Siki T. Yes, Ian is in the event as well. He finished his deck as we were setting up for the event. So I saw diagonally what he was playing, and I hope we'll get to see him in the feature match as well at some point. What are the top decks at this moment? The top 3 is very clearly blue-red, Drakes, spells, draw a second card. There's a lot of um, hybrids, different interpretations of that deck. Elementals is a very strong one. Risen Reef with Neoform to have like a toolbox package as the go white deck, the default go white deck at this point. And then the top dog is the deck that you see here in the hands of Sander, is Gates. Um, and then yes, Cat Oven. Even though nobody really has broken through with that, but I am brewing, pun intended, with that archetype. And so far, I have, well, no Oko. That you're only allowed to play 1 Oko, and uh, you're only allowed to play 1 of 4 different rares. So you can only have 1 Golden Goose. That's not really so interesting anymore. 1 Oko, yes, that's still broken. So every card, every deck that kind of fits it can still play it, and a lot of them do. Sander here does. Um, and only one Once Upon a Time as well. So again, that clause of it being free the first turn uh, doesn't make it so interesting anymore. So the whole meta game that we see in Standard has completely no impact on Gentry here, which is really cool. Uh, Besides that tier 1, There's a lot going on. Like I said, Cavalcade of Calamity, Black White Disruption discard. Is there? There's Mono Green Ramp making an impact and stuff. But let's go back to the game here as we have an Arboreal Grazer accelerating out Sander. Um, Possibly allowing him to sneak a Gatebreaker Ram or another important 3-drop spell here under the possible counter mana of Robbe. But is Robbe actually playing counter mana? Island Murmuring Mystic, Opt Shock. There's only 3 no escape, 4 negates, and 1 disdainful stroke in the entire deck for Robbe. And I say for Robbe, but it is Sander who built the deck, so he knows what he needs to play around here. He knows he doesn't have to fear a quench or anything like that. We get a naked Arboreal Grazer that doesn't give him an extra land. So, no, the Grazer was already. Sorry. Opt for Robbe, my favorite card to look up because you get 15 different Thopter cards to scroll through. 12 viewers in the meantime. Hello and welcome everybody. As we are in the first round, game 2. Sander is 1 up with Gates Ablaze against Robbe with blue-red spells. And we get the first payoff card here in Sahili. In the meantime, Sander seems to be a bit screwed in the mana department, just like in game 1. Robert failed to properly capitalize on this last time. Maybe this time he has learned his lesson. Though it looks like he doesn't have land number 4 either. So both our players here will be forced. I see a thread of possibilities hanging out in Robbe's hand there. So he has things. Ah, no, we're still in Sander's turn. Excuse me. Gatebreaker Ram. For Sander as a 4-4, so still somewhat in burn range at this moment. Thopter, yes. Opt made me hate Thopters. We have a Cosmina's Transmutation for Robbe. Uh, but we're going for Unsummon first. Unsummon, quickly turning into my other favorite ones with the ritual of unsummoning popping up as the first one. And we have the Ram coming back this time as a 5-5 Grace of the top decked gate here. So Sander about to draw out. I also think that's his first blue source that he drew. So any card draw he has in hand uh, will be turned on as well. Cosmina's Transmutation takes care of the Gatebreaker Ram. It's now a cute little blue frog. This is not Frogify. Uh, this is just Cosmina's Transmutation. And we have a Duress being fired off by Sander, but that gets negated. Robbe wants to either maintain um, tap that. Yeah, it no longer has vigilance, correct. So Sander, I'm not sure what that is. Oh, it's a return to nature. Return to nature, disenchanting the Cosmina's Transmutation. Getting tricksy with it. And Robin not being able to add anything to the board here. Doesn't play his land. I wonder why he's not playing the Thrill of Possibilities here. Maybe he is. So the play here is Thrill of Possibility plus Scorching Dragon Fire for surprise blockers. I still would have shot off the thrill a turn earlier just to have the extra land drop. Second token gets to block, and we get the growth spiral. Hoping for the lucky top deck. Gets the lucky top deck here. Gets rid of the tokens, negates that entire sequence, and I'll get back to you. Um, gets the whole breaks the whole sequence and really handicapped Robbe into that second Cosmina's transmutation. But we already know that Sander brought in the return to natures. Oh, and there we have a second one. Ram coming in. As Sander is getting onto the offensive. We have Crackling Drake, Murmuring Mystic, and Maximize Velocity in the Robbe's deck. And Sander tapping out, so there could be a pretty big hit with a Crackling Drake here. But I don't think it's far from enough for a one-hit KO with Sander still on 20 life. The Swede is in the house. Seiwu. Uh, been wondering that too. Not sure what Tom is wondering about. Okay, Crackling Drake. And a maximize velocity, yes. So that's a hasty. It's a pretty sizable number. It could be a two-hit kill here. But the Grazer, yeah, that has reach for some very random reason. Been hanging out since turn one, hasn't done a thing, and is now there. Oof, Oko, Alkafice. No, that's not the correct Oko. Give me the correct Oko. There we go. And we're in the late game. Somewhere wrapping up the match. Was wondering about the late thrill at that point, so got insight on all 13 decks. We'll have a look at the meta game. I'll get all the lists here, hopefully in a few minutes. Uh, if Gentry had a modern variant, would it get a lot of different decks to the table? We actually did a mental exercise uh, for a modern version of Gentry, and everybody seemed to agree that Affinity and Burn would just wreck the entire format. I have another opt here, Murmuring Mystic, opt making a bird. There is an unsummon, yes, hiding out there, makes a second bird. But we have another choosing not to block with the Glazing Gladeheart. Seems to be a bit scared about getting hit by another hasty Crackling Drake, since that maximized velocity is now in the graveyard. Pioneer Gentry, yeah, I think Pioneer Gentry will also just be broken by Mono Red though. Yeah, and we have all the deck list here. So as soon as this match is over, we're gonna have a look at the meta game for you. Yeah, why would we try to expand Gentry? Uh, Sander, in the meantime, wraps up, wins the first round 2-0, and Tom